But let me start with a broad question to the three of you who are actually out there finding entrepreneurs. You all have slightly different approaches to doing it, and I think it would be interesting to find out a little bit more detail upon how each of you actually find these people that you decide to support, and then we'll talk about more about how you actually support them. Stuart, why don't you start?
Great. So to start, to be able to walk in the halls at Ashoka again, I should just address Andreas' question really quickly, or his comment. So we're not an aid agency and not a representative of aid agency, and we don't tell folks what to do. We very much look at the entrepreneurs as the source of ideas and the source of the vision, and I think that's very much in the spirit of what Andreas was saying. We spend a lot of time looking for entrepreneurs. In 70 countries around the world, that means we do a few things. We have a small footprint, so we're small in staff, roughly about 300 and some odd in number, magnified many times over by people who also contribute to that. But we spend a lot of time cultivating nominator networks. And actually cultivating nominator networks for us is both a push and a pull. So one of the things we're very conscious about doing is learning from what's happening in a specific country and also helping people in countries understand what's happening in other countries. So from country to country learning throughout this nomination network. We have a 5-stage vetting process for our social entrepreneurs, making sure that they fit our very simple criteria. We only have 4 criteria, but we go through a vetting process that takes local person has been nominated them. They've been actually vetted on the local level. We'll do background checks, site visits, etc. We'll bring in somebody from outside, from a different continent, to be able to vet that entrepreneur to make sure that we're, in part, moving beyond any kinds of realm of influence challenges that we may have. And we will actually then vet them with a panel of local entrepreneurs. These can be business or social entrepreneurs who vet the person and the character and quality of their idea. And that vetting process then goes up all the way to our board of directors. So every one of our Ashoka fellows is vetted all the way up from the ground level at Ashoka all the way up to the board level. And one of the things that engenders is a level of conversation about the state of social innovation in each of these countries and each of these subject matters around the world.
So is this on? At the risk of not being invited back, I don't like the term social entrepreneur because, you know, if there's such a thing as a social entrepreneur, then I wonder what I was during my whole career. And I'd rather, if there's some entrepreneurs who do bad things, let's invent a new name for them and not give the name of the good entrepreneur away. Most entrepreneurs have a super effect on their economy. The way we we call them pioneers of prosperity because entrepreneurs, whenever they show up, you know prosperity is not far behind. The way we find it, and this is again one of those very, you know, Mike came up with a formula that you should really, that is so easy and you'll never forget it once you hear it. It's called COW-F. Every economic transaction has 4 stakeholders: the customer, the owner, the worker, and the future generations. A good, profitable, sustainable business balances this equation. They give the customer a good product at a reasonable and good price. They give the owner a good return on investment, a competitive return on investment. They use the worker as its competitive advantage, and they do not screw future generations, right? And that has to do with environment and all kinds of things. If you balance that equation, you have a good business. That is how we find pioneers of prosperity. Of course, you need to have good financials. You cannot compete in our competition if you're not profitable. We're trying to find SMEs that are scalable. I'm telling you, I just talked to somebody earlier. If you have a business in Dar es Salaam and you've been 5 years around and you're profitable, in my book, you're one of the best entrepreneurs in the world, because if you can make it there, it's like that little saying from the US. I think it applies over there even more. If you're profitable over there, you can make it anywhere. And that's the kind of companies we're looking at. The final stage of the competition we do by having, it's not really I mean, we talk to the C, O, W, and the F. Is where we do interviews, we go on site, we talk to everybody. We send in accountants to do the due diligence on the financials. At the end, we have a huge event where everybody comes together and the entrepreneur has to go in front of a panel. It's misery loves company. I've had to do so many presentations at VC companies where I have to do my dance in front of all these people who get the right to shoot at you. We put them through this. And we invite all these people who have some expertise in some relevant expertise, and they have to do their song and spiel in front of them, and then there's a vote of who is going to win that. And we call them pioneers of prosperity.
So at Endeavor, we've actually had, I'll keep them unnamed, GCC countries that have offered us millions of dollars to teach them how to find high-impact entrepreneurs. And as tempting as that was, you can find out how to do that on our website. It's not rocket science. Really, but the difficulty of what we do is that our selection process is around community, both local community and global community. And so what I mean by that is we have currently 11 offices in 11 countries. And as Stuart mentioned, it's really important to build this community. You can't do what we do by just having staff on the ground. You really have to build a larger community and have that community engaged in what you're doing. And so every single one of our offices is fully locally funded. And we do that because we have a board of directors that is made up of the top business leaders in the country, and which is very unique. And so what we have is we have a team called our search and selection team, and they go out and actively seek and find these entrepreneurs to put in the pipeline. And we evaluate them similar to many of these other organizations. And then we have a local panel where, again, we bring the local community, they evaluate the entrepreneurs. Those that make it through that process are then go to our final filter, which is called our international selection panel. And at that panel, we invite top business leaders from around the world, have panels similar to this, where we'll have a mix of locals and top business leaders, and they grill the entrepreneurs for an hour. And then the next day, we have deliberations, and it has to be unanimous approval. And so the interesting thing about our approval process is that nobody from Endeavor staff, we're not the ones who choose the entrepreneurs. We're the ones who have learned over the past 13 years what works, what doesn't work. But at the end of the day, it's the business leaders, it's the combination of the top business leaders in the local country with top business leaders from around the world that are the ones that are the quality control to make sure that whether you're in Jordan, Brazil, South Africa, every single entrepreneur is of the same caliber.